where you can find us. And we're out here in Viroqua, got here last night and had a great time. Went down to Kickapoo Creekside, had some dinner down there last night. And we actually, they don't normally open on Tuesday evenings like that. And they opened up because we were coming to town. And maybe 40, 50 people were there, and we had a great time. And they actually gave away cash last night, which was awesome. So we gave away almost $800 last night to one lucky winner. Not that the IRS is listening, but nevertheless, we had a good time. So the food was absolutely fantastic, as always, and I love my friends down there. And Susan's always a tremendous server, and she always treats us extremely well every time we walk through the door. So we had a great time down there last night. And a good night's sleep, and then back in here today. And again, we are at the Norwegian Hollow, just in Viroqua, Wisconsin. So if you're going to be here tonight for the huddle, 6 to 8 tonight, and we're going to be out here on the road again. And they've got music from 5 to 6. So it's going to be kind of a fun night out here, kind of a jamboree, if you will, if you want to come on out and say hello to us during the huddle. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Feeling okay today, a little bit better, but still it's moved into my chest and head. And I know I sound worse than I feel, believe me, but nevertheless, it's getting better. Yeah, hopefully by Friday, going into next week, going into a Sunday when we go back up to Burkle's one block over to do the postgame show, going to be all good. So cross your fingers. Grant Bills, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Bill. I sound a little bit better than you. I think probably feel a little bit, but I'm jealous that you're in Viroqua. You got to breathe in some of that driftless air. It'll heal you right up.
Yeah,
like Norwegian air.
Yeah, I got out this morning. Everything was frosted over. It was cool. It was crisp. It's getting warmer though now that the sun's come out. But and it drove way down here into the in between the hills and just kind of enjoyed some of the outdoor temperatures, and then got set up and got ready for the program today. But yeah, I sound worse than I feel. I mean, it's like, the head's heavy, the chest is heavy, but it's not like, when you're miserable, you're not. I'm not miserable. It's just there. Whatever the crud is, it's just there. So anyway, but that being said, we've got a lot to talk about today. A couple of different things. Let's start out first with the Packers and where they're at right now. And the reason I bring this up is because Matt LaFleur, after the game the other day and in yesterday's press conference, was asked specifically about playing off the ball. He talked about, quick outs, quick hitches that turn into big plays, big chunk plays. And he was asked about it specifically to say, is this, playing that far off the ball, is this what that defense was designed to do? He stopped short of throwing what I thought to be, now it could be interpreted in different ways, what I thought to be like Joe Barry under the bus. He stopped short. And then, but he didn't elaborate. So it wasn't like either the player was playing too far off the ball or Joe Barry had them playing too far off the ball. But I'll say this. It sounded like whatever the scheme was, he wasn't happy with it. It wasn't just the tackling or the inability to tackle or crashing the edges and allowing, Tommy DeVito to get outside. He sounded like he was not happy with the way that thing was being run. And we usually see this once or twice a year where things just aren't going, the Packers' way. Defensively speaking, they're giving up chunk plays, they're giving up big yardage. And then all of a sudden, there's this, I don't want to say a come to Jesus meeting, but basically a meeting of the minds, if you will, that say, hey, this isn't working. I don't know if that's happening behind closed doors, but for those that wanted to take that as an indicator that maybe Joe Barry's job is not as secure as, he might have thought or others would think, I tend to think the frustration, and it's legitimate frustration, that was levied the other night, whether it was against Joe or whomever was playing off the ball. I think that this game was a blip on the radar, that this team started ascending going back to Pittsburgh. Now, I had said that yesterday, and the reason I bring that up is because I had received a bevy, and usually it's a couple of emails, 2 or 3, that talk about it. But last night, there was probably about 11, 12, maybe 13 emails and a few things over on the Facebook fan page that said, no. This wasn't a blip. This was a reversion. This is who they are. Jordan Love's not that good. His footwork was bad. He's reverted back to being an inaccurate passer. He was floating the football. It wasn't that windy. I mean, on and on and on and on. And so I want to go back to that question. Defensively speaking, they didn't play well. It was a bad game for all facets of this team. But I want to know, do you believe, it's kind of like the question of, will the real Green Bay Packers please stand up? Do you believe that this version we saw on Monday night was the real Packers, or what we saw, against Pittsburgh, against the Chargers, against the Lions, and against the Chiefs is what we saw? So which one is it? Which one do you believe? And that's why I believe that this game coming up is important in a lot of different facets. I mean, Baker Mayfield last week, 3 touchdowns, no picks. The first rushing TD of the season that he had last week. And when you look at them in comparison, the Packers defense and Tampa Bay's offense about on par. They average 20.2 points a game. The Packers give up 24.5 points a game, which is still good, but not back into the top 10. But the Packers are giving up 342 yards a game. And you can't ignore that. The Packers are giving up a league. It's the 31st ranked defense rushing wise in the league at 141.9 yards per game, almost 142 yards a game. And now the scoring offense of the Packers and the defense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this game is going to come down to 2 things. It's going to come down to turnovers, and it's going to come down to the Packers' ability to put pressure on Baker Mayfield, not necessarily to have a great day out of Jordan Love, but to put pressure on Baker Mayfield, maybe to get a turnover or 2, because when you look at the numbers, these 2 teams are really evenly matched. They really are. Now, some of the numbers for Tampa Bay skewed from the beginning of the season, but these 2 teams are incredibly evenly matched. And the fact that you're not going to have, a lot of guys like, Christian Watson, not going to have on the field, you pretty much can guarantee that. A questionable Aaron Jones. I mean, with all the injuries the Packers have, this may be one of the least talented squads going out there that the Packers have put on the field in a long time, going back to Jeff Janis and Jared Abbrederis. I mean, when it comes to what they have available. So this is by no means an easy game, but this is going to be a game that's going to be defensively driven coming up. Do you agree with that, Grant?
Baker Mayfield will play really well if you let him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like Baker Mayfield is not going to beat himself. And Joe Barry and the Packers defense, right? They kind of take a passive approach sometimes, and sometimes that works. But if you sit back and allow Baker Mayfield to beat you, he absolutely can. So yes, I think this is a great test for Joe Barry's defense after what happened Monday night. Totally, yes.
I do too. And, again, most of the workload's going to be on A.J. Dillon in this one. Probably no Christian Watson coming up in this one. It's going to be questionable with Aaron Jones as to whether or not he's back, as I mentioned. You've got other guys that are banged up now, and we're waiting for we'll get the injury report coming out a little bit later on today. But, who knows? Who knows what's actually going to be available for this Packers team? And that's why I said, as much as we're going to be looking at Jordan Love and evaluating him and to see which Jordan Love is going to show up, I think this is going to come down to defense. So we got that to talk about. And then Draymond Green, you got to talk about it. Look, Golden State has a losing record when he's not on the floor. And I understand that. But at what point does this guy just go away for a long time? At what I was watching this morning as I was getting ready in the room, I was watching Get Up this morning, and everybody was talking about it. And whether it's former NBA players or NFL players, everybody's got an opinion. The Players Union, the Players Association has to protect the penalty. Not necessarily the player, but the penalty. They don't want what they consider to be a flailing elbow to draw a 20-game suspension, because the next guy that does it inadvertently could end up with a big-time suspension. They can say it was just as flagrant and just as bad, and this is what Draymond Green got. I understand that. But I think there's a Draymond Green multiplier here, that this guy just doesn't care. He's proven time and again, he just doesn't care. He doesn't make apologies for his actions. He doesn't make apologies for the people he hurts, although last night he did say it because he knew he was busted. He knew that what he did, he knew it the minute he did it, and that he took a guy down. And there's only so many guys that are going to tolerate that in the NBA now, because now you're just that flat out ready to punch people, choke people, and take them down and hurt them. And the one thing the Players Association will do is protect the sanctity of the suspension, but they've got to protect the sanctity of their players. Other players are going to, if they don't suspend this guy for a long period of time, first of all, Adam Silver is going to look incredibly weak. He already did during his last suspension, or lack thereof. And if they don't do something this time, the next time something like this happens, it's going to be an all-out attack, and you're building up to like another melee, and this time it'll be Draymond Green in the middle of it, where guys are just going to be wailing on him, because if the league's not going to protect them from him, they'll protect them from him. They'll protect themselves from him. This has gotten like to be a joke, and his explanation was garbage. He's a liar. We all know it. But if Adam Silver doesn't do something about this guy, it will be beyond belief to me. And I'm talking multiple games, not just 10. I'm talking 15, 20 game suspension. How many did they give him last time? 5 for the chokehold? Was it 5 games that he was coming off of?
I can't remember what it was for the chokehold, but last night he's in his press conference saying he didn't mean to hit the guy. Like, I'll have the audio. We can listen to it up next, but you can't really talk your way out of a chokehold. He's trying to talk his way out of this one.
Yeah. He's trying to say that he was just trying to kind of make a spin move to get off the defense. And really the defense wasn't that bad. You know, he had the hand in the back, and they were kind of checking each other, but that goes on all the time. There was nothing egregious about the defense that Draymond Green had to kind of flail wildly his arm and elbow. And I mean, he knew exactly what he was doing. Because here's the problem. If you square up on a guy and you hit him, they see it coming. When you flail around and you sucker punch a guy the way he did last night, you can't do that. If the NBA doesn't just slam him to the tune of 20 games, and then you're going to see the Players Association appeal it, and they better meet somewhere in the middle to the tune of about 15 games at least. And at this point, honestly, I don't care about the Golden State Warriors as a whole. They're the ones that signed him. They're the ones that allowed him to punch Jordan Poole in the face and then didn't really do much about it. Steve Kerr is ballless. The organization is ballless. And we're going to find out if Adam Silver has any balls at all. And if they give him another 5 to 7 game suspension or 8 game suspension, it's going to be proof that the NBA cares more about the wins of a particular franchise than they do about protecting their own players. And it's all garbage at that point. And I'll lose a lot of respect for the NBA. Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We got some Brewers stuff to talk about as well. We got a lot going on today, broadcasting live out here in Viroqua. We're at the Norwegian Hollow. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hell no, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply. See showroom for details. Offer ends 12/31/2023.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We are live. We are in Viroqua, Wisconsin. We are here at the Norwegian Hollow and glad to be here. It's been a while since we've been back. And we got, I was told last night, we have the golf outing again this year, which is coming up in May. So out here at the Viroqua Hills Golf Course. And last year, Ben Kenny played in that. So, Grant, I got to ask you, are you capable of throwing around some golf clubs?
I'm capable of hitting a ball. Yes, it's not going to look good. It's not going to resemble golf, but I can get out there and smooch and, enjoy the course and talk to people and hit some balls. Yeah.
Well, we're going to do that again this year. So this year you'll have to take Ben Kenny's place.
Hey, I would come get a colonoscopy in Viroqua if it meant that I get to go to Viroqua. Like, I will go to Viroqua for any reason whatsoever.
Oh,
so I
okay.
can 100% play golf.
Well, we'll have to find a doctor, but all right. We can do that. So,
any excuse to go to Viroqua in there.
Come to get a colonoscopy in Viroqua. All right. That's better than the key to the city. So Ernie will give you one. He's got gloves, he said. So,
oh no.
The old hunter's gloves, the neons, but he's good. So anyway, a couple of things. We were talking about the Packers before, Draymond Green before. We got some baseball chatter coming up a little bit later on today. A lot of rumors floating around about Corbin Burns, how the Brewers are not shopping him. However, they are taking phone calls. It's not as if they're actively shopping him. I still can't figure out what exactly it is they're going to do with Corbin Burns, but we're going to talk with Chuck Freeman coming up later on today in the program and get his take on it from the Locked On Brewers podcast. But he's a year away from reaching the open market and, one of the most compelling names out there when it comes to whether or not he could be moved and what they could give for him in return. But there are clubs that are of the impression that there's a legitimate chance Burns ultimately could be moved, even though the Brewers haven't specifically stated they want to move him. I think if the right deal comes along, you can't say no, obviously. And knowing what you're going to get for him versus what, if you keep him and then he goes, then you don't basically get anything for him. But if the Brewers are shopping him at all, Matt Arnold is not in any way, shape, or form tipping his hand right now, whether it's public comments or anything. And Scott Boras, the agent, He said, at the winter meetings that everything he's heard from Milwaukee is that they're putting together a competitive team to win the division this coming year. And Scott Boras also said the Brewers haven't approached him about a long-term extension, but it seems that they have also not given any signal that he could be traded. So it's like, what ultimately is going to happen with Corbin Burns? Now, remember, they got into a bit of a contentious back and forth during arbitration. So I can't imagine that Corbin Burns is, going to give him a hometown discount after the $700,000 ended up, going into the favor of the Milwaukee Brewers. But you got to figure at some point they're going to have to, Esser get off the pot. And then you got Willie Adames. And, there's a package that, as far as maybe, sending him off to the Dodgers, and, there's all kinds of other things, that people are talking about. And the Dodgers are just buying up players like crazy. How much money do the Dodgers have in payroll going into next year? Do you know off the top of your head?
Well, it's going to be a little misleading because it's going to be very little next year and for the next couple of years to Ohtani. I'll pull up the payroll right now, and we don't fully know because we haven't gone through arbitration yet, which will make the numbers a little different. But they're in on Yamamoto. We learned last night they're trying to trade for Tyler Glass now. So that number, whatever it is now, it's going to go up even though they aren't paying Ohtani anything.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers right now, their projected payroll, let me do this. Their projected payroll is $160 million right now, projected payroll. And that's not including some of the other guys that they have to throw in there. Ohtani's only, I think this year, the adjusted salary for this year is going to be what? I think the base salary is $7 million, but the adjusted salary is like 70, but the base is like 2 million or something like that. And there's a luxury tax thing there and something. I don't know. I think it's 70 million. That's the payroll salary, but the adjusted salary is like 2 million. I don't know how
they have 2 million per year over the course of this contract, and then it'll be 68 per next year. They've deferred that to the next decade after he's gone or he's re-signed or whatever.
Right. So it's kind of a quirky deal the way they did it, but the bottom line is he still gets, all that money. But when you talk about the actual the luxury tax via the payroll, their projected payroll could be well over 218 million for the projected tax allocations by the time it's all said and done, which would put them up over $300 million. And, again, this is where you get a problem with Major League Baseball because you're thinking to yourself, okay, remember last year the New York Mets were well over $300 million, and then they tore it down. They didn't win. The Phillies were there, but they didn't win. The Yankees were there, but they didn't win. The Braves didn't win. So when you get into all of this, those top payrolls, they didn't win. So baseball has the ability to easily say, look, you can't just buy a championship. But the Mets, while they stunk, they're still able to kind of cut their losses and do it all over again. The Brewers, however, are a team that right now ranks 26th going into the season. The Brewers have 61 million on the books, 61.6, as opposed to the Mets at 224.7. There's still a vast, vast disparity between the two in the ability for a team like the Brewers to pay a player and not be able to cut their losses. Where the Mets, they're like, okay, no big deal. We'll throw out that 30, 40 million bucks, 50 million bucks. Oh, if it doesn't work out, no big deal. We can do it again. Phillies the same thing. The Yankees the same thing. The Braves the same thing. That's where the disparity becomes so large is the Brewers can't do that. Once a deal goes bad, it's you eat it, you sit on it, and you hope and pray. And you start trying to find guys that, are kind of like the lightning in a bottle that you can just maybe get a retread or somebody that you get on a limited basis for a few million bucks. It, reestablishes their career. And then once they do, they're going to go on and make more money elsewhere, and that's the difference. But baseball has got a massive, for what the Dodgers are doing, it's a massive disparity. Now, like I said, going into next year, the Dodgers look relatively low, almost middle of the pack, but we all know the money the Dodgers have spent, and it's all sitting there waiting in the wings. So, we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up later on today, but man, that's it's just such a large disparity when it comes to Major League Baseball and the teams that can talk to certain free agents and the other teams that just simply can't even begin to think about talking to certain free agents. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up? Feel free, go ahead and do so. Again, 877-867-1670. Would love to hear from you. And I got this one from Yankee Mike. Yankee Mike says, at what point does Joe Barry go? Do they fire him during the season or do they fire him after the season? And did I read right that he does not have a contract after this year? First of all, yes, you did. His contract is up at the end of the season. And I would assume at this point, unless something dramatically changes, that he will not be back. And even going back to when the scoring defense was good, and we were talking about that, even going back to that, you got to assume when you start to look statistically and say, look, what is the ceiling for this team? What is the ceiling for the Green Bay Packers for the defense? And with all the talent that they've acquired, with all the draft choices and all the draft capital they've put into that, the free agent capital they've put into that, you got to assume that at some point that you have to realize how good this team actually can be. And you're never going to do that. You're never going to find out how good this team actually can be under Joe Barry, and then there's a lot of offshoot, magazine articles and a lot of different articles that have been written about, Joe Barry and the situation. And there's one called A to Z Sports that I was reading, and they talk about, Dan Orlovsky ripping Joe Barry for the lack of second half adjustments. He said, for me, that was a big deal. I mean, they couldn't cover Wan'Dale Robinson at all. He made a bunch of big plays. First half saw a ton of quarterback runs. Some of them were designed. Some of them were just using his legs, talking about Tommy DeVito. Okay, so I give him a little grace in the first half, but it kept going in the second half. There was never an adjustment designed to stop the run. There was never a spy that was delegated towards him. They didn't have a plan for Brian Daboll's zone read plan. I was shocked by how little the adjustment actually happened from Green Bay's defense when it came to, and it was very clear Tommy DeVito was going to use his legs in any situation. They never did anything to try and counter. And that's from Dan Orlovsky. And a lot of people are saying the same thing. It's like, was he just asleep at the wheel? Did he just not see what everybody else saw? Or is he so obstinate to say, no, this is my defense and the guys aren't running it, so I'm not going to make an adjustment? You just don't know. And there's a thought that the defensive mindset of Joe Barry is holding this team back, because this team has the ability. And this goes back to the frustration you saw from Rasul Douglas before he got traded away. You've heard from Jair Alexander before when he talks about coverages. And, let us do what we're meant to do. We heard it from Preston Smith a year ago when he talked a little bit about it. He doesn't say too much when he talked a little bit about it. We've heard this before from inside that locker room that, it's like, what are we doing? Why aren't you letting us, like, taking the leash off, so to speak, as if this bend but don't break, death by 1,000 cuts defense is the end all be all, and it's not. So a lot of things to talk about in that sense. Also, I want you to hear again Matt LaFleur from yesterday. It was late in the day when we got it. If you didn't get a chance to hear it, I want you to hear it. We're going to have Matt LaFleur and talking to the media yesterday about a lot of this stuff, philosophically speaking, when we come back. Again, broadcasting live out here at the Norwegian Hollow. We are in Viroqua, Wisconsin, 6 to 8 tonight. It's the Bill Michaels Huddle. We're going to be here. Hopefully you are as well. Going to go ahead and take a quick break. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there, J&L Tire and Service Center, J&L Tire in Watertown and in Johnson Creek. You can see it right off of 94 in Johnson Creek. A great place, great people. They do a ton of stuff for charity. I just saw Lyle the other day, and he was doing a ton of stuff for underprivileged kids in their community, buying toys, pajamas, clothes, other things for them to have a very Merry Christmas. That's the reason you should support a tremendous company like J&L Tire. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Hear that? It's the sound of a wedding December at Potawatomi. Play with your club card December 7th, 14th, and 21st. The more you play, the bigger your share of $400,000 in reindeer rewards. And like a classic Midwest winter, the wins can really pile up. Dash to Potawatomi Casino Hotel Milwaukee for your reindeer rewards. $400,000 worth. Learn more at daysbig.com. Must be 21 years old and a club member to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program. Good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show. We are live. We're out here at the Norwegian Hollow in Viroqua, Wisconsin. Good to have you on board. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Let's do this. Let's take a listen to what Matt LaFleur had to say. Matt LaFleur at the podium yesterday, but talked a lot about some of the issues in game that came up that ended up costing the Green Bay Packers that game on Monday night. Take a listen to what Matt LaFleur had to say.
I'm doing.
How did Jaden and Dontavian come out of that game?
We're still kind of getting all the information. We got in at, I want to say 3:00 in the morning. Guys are still going through evaluation, testing, and so I really don't have any updates. I'll have some more for you tomorrow.
You know, it's a little early, but is there some concern that you might be really limited playmaker-wise from that perspective? And maybe we'll get some good news tomorrow, but when you're running the game plan.
Oh, absolutely. I think anytime you have more guys that continue to go out, certainly it puts some stress on you, but it's also an opportunity for other guys. And we got other guys in that locker room that are, just would jump at the chance to be able to get out on the field and contribute.
Matt, when things were kind of rolling for you guys, and you warned us not to, kind of get ahead of ourselves here. You're a 6-6, 500 football team. So you get done with your press conference in New York. What do you go through there? Because you're obviously not very pleased with the way you guys played. You weren't happy with yourself or your team. So what's your kind of process to getting to where you're standing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you take a long, hard look at the film, and that was a tough watch in every phase. And you try to make the necessary adjustments and corrections, and you got to learn from it. So, and then you move on, and it's a quick turnaround. We did get a head start having that additional day last week on Tampa, so that helps out a little bit. But ultimately, so we're just in here grinding Tampa tape and moving on.
So you're watching the film on the flight back?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm curious, when you look at the final defensive series, what do you see that you didn't see in real time, and what do you kind of wish you guys had done differently?
Well, I mean, you wish you would have stopped them. Like the first couple plays, they hit 2 checkdowns. You're fine with that, and then we're playing. Joe called man coverage, and we're playing way off, which we shouldn't be in that situation. We called another man coverage. That's when we got beat on that 7 cut. We just got to be better with our eyes, and you can't be peeking in the backfield, and you got to keep your eyes on your work. And unfortunately, we didn't, and we got gashed. That ultimately did us in.
Were the corners playing off by their own choice, or just was that the call?
That is something that we're going to have to get corrected, Bill. So that is we if we're calling man, we got to be tighter.
I'm assuming the answer here is going to be yes, but you're obviously playing big games, and your kickers missed a few. Are you firmly committed to him down the stretch?
Absolutely. I think he's a young kicker that obviously is. You got to find consistency in your game, and I will say this: you miss a field goal, and you come back and you hit one in another critical situation that I want to say was 3 yards further, and he hits it right down the pipe. So he's certainly capable. It's just finding that consistent approach, whatever it may be, for him to be able to go out there and consistently execute. And I just, obviously those missed, whether it's PATs or missed field goals, everything gets magnified when you lose every phase. So that's kind of where we're at.
Regression is the right word after the way you've been playing, but what surprised you most about just the inability to execute as you would have liked?
What phase are we talking about?
Take your pick, I guess, because you mentioned all 3 last night weren't quite up to snuff.
Yeah, there was mistakes in every phase. We had a turnover on punt return. You muff a punt, you got to just stay down, cover it up. We had a couple penalties, although the one we got to get clarification on from the Anthony Johnson clip. I mean, I don't know. We just got to get clarification from the league so we can coach that better. Certainly, we never want our players to commit a penalty or coach them to commit penalties. One, and then the other one, it was we mishit the punt, and Rudy is flying down there, and it looked like, I mean, he's trying to push his man into the returner, and the returner, I don't think he saw him, because I've never seen a returner fly that fast. He almost hit Rudy. So, and I know he's got the right of way. It was one of those just freak plays. Certainly there was no malicious intent there by Rudy. So it's just one of those things that happen, unfortunately. And then I thought, when you look at our defense, thought for the most part, you got to be careful how this gets phrased or comes out. For the most part, in terms of run efficiency, and when Saquon was back there, we did a good job. The problem was we gave up 4 just brutal runs that accounted for over 100. I want to say 109 yards, where we had missed tackles, missed assignments, and you can't have that. The one obviously didn't hurt us as bad because one fumbled on the play, 34-yarder. We still missed 2 tackles right in the hole right there, or the first one was right in the hole, and then he made Sav miss down the sidelines. And then we just a couple of those zone reads. You need 11 guys on the same page, and if one guy's got dive responsibilities, let him take the dive. The other guy has the quarterback. And you got to give them credit. There was a couple that they stepped up, that they did a nice job, and you just got to limit those open field. Where DeVito for 26 yards down the 1 yard line, we just got to get them down, and it's a 7-8 yard gain instead of a 26 yard gain. So, just that's going to happen. Teams are going to get on you. You just can't make a bad play worse by whether it's missing the tackle or missing the sign. And we had a couple of those that really, really hurt us in the game. So, and then offensively, I think there was a couple things really messed up in protection that are inexcusable. Quite frankly, just not IDing the structures, and that's a credit to Wink and that defense in terms of just all the different looks that they present to you. You got to be on top of it at all times. They present a lot of different looks, and it causes confusion. And there were a couple situations where it really hurt us, where we had opportunities to get maybe some chunk plays that didn't happen. And just being able to throw and catch. There's certainly some throws I know Jordan would like to have back. I did think he did a nice job down the stretch, despite how the game had been going, to show the resiliency to bring us down. Create some, I thought specifically the last drive, he did a really nice job. Some tough throws. Some made the plays and some didn't. So, but all in all, it just, every phase contributed. We had 2 turnovers on offense. Can't have them. So when you do that, and you have 3 turnovers in a football game, you're not going to win the game.
When there's all that you're looking at, and you're on a short week, like how do you prioritize what to work on with the guys, when there just isn't as much time to maybe go over all that?
No, you absolutely go over everything. You got to get some of the stuff cleaned up, no doubt about it. The big ones are just some of the unforced errors, and we're going to have another great challenge in front of us, in all 3 phases again against a team that went into Atlanta and on the way to come away with a last second victory as well. So, you gotta clean up your mistakes, but ultimately you gotta learn from every situation that you're in, positively and when unfortunately you lose. And otherwise, I don't know what we're doing if we're not learning from those situations.
You mentioned you guys had some flybys rushing last night. I hope you guys have seen that's given. I know they don't never pass, but they give up 69 sacks. And for you guys not to get a single one, how do you explain that?
Yeah, it's disappointing. There was a couple where you just gotta, again, it comes down to getting 11 guys on the same page and everybody doing their 111, as I always like to say. And when that doesn't happen, bad stuff happens. And unfortunate. And, I thought, like, for the most part, a lot of times it looked like when he was dropping back, if it wasn't there, he was trying to find an exit angle. And he found him. So credit to him and his ability to do that. And obviously, his legs really hurt us in the game.
Offensively, did you see something that you thought maybe you guys would be able to have success on the edge with some of the jet sweeps and stuff? And did they do a good job of, it worked early, did they do a good job of kind of figuring it out and go to a counter move, or what did you think of that aspect?
No, there's going to be plays that work and some that don't. And some of the jet sweeps, I think we got to be a little bit more. There's some of those plays, there's an option for the handoff where you flip the ball or hand the ball off the receiver. Obviously, it worked in the first drive, first play of the game, we got 5 yards. It always comes down to why does that end? A lot of the times, what is the structure behind it? And I think we got to be a little bit more picky and do that. And we put up the second half with the reverse, get 20 yards. It's unfortunate, 2-point play. I mean, we missed 2 blocks at the point of attack. That's why I keep going back to the execution. I'm not trying to sit here and say that we couldn't have called some better things. I'm not saying that. I'm as much as fault as anybody, if not at more fault than anybody responsible for everything that happens. But at the same time, when we have opportunity, we execute. It's a block at the point of attack, 2 blocks at the point of attack. And if you get those, I think he's walking in untouched. So I always got to look at the process. And sometimes the results are not favorable, and you just got to live with them. And then you're sitting here answering questions, and I get it. That's just part of the gig.
How's Tucker Kraft kind of gone from just a guy trying to figure things out to a guy helping you out?
Yeah, Tucker, I think if you look just through the course of the season, you could argue he's as improved as anybody. He's consistently making plays, and he's doing a good job. Not only, you see it in the production of the passing game, but I think the run game has gotten so much better. I think his contributions on teams he's significantly improved. And he's got to keep on that track. And it's not a shock to me. I mean, the guy shows up every day, and he does a great job in practice. He's developing really good habits. I think that's when you see improvement.
There you go. That's Matt LaFleur talking to the media yesterday. Good stuff. And talked to specifically about defensive, alignment adjustments and such. Didn't throw anybody under the bus, but he certainly alluded to the unhappiness that he's feeling right now regarding the defense. There is a dare to dream moment if you're a Packers fan. A dare to dream. I'll tell you what that is when we come back. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 in the window.
It's cold outside.
So where do I go?
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to months. And wrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jackpot stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, Carlos all year round and follows one day. Pella offers lines in luxurious woods for fiberglass and vinyl.
We'll make a New Year's resolution today.
That's the spirit, Santa.
No, pay later.
Absolutely. No money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at LWI.com.
Supplies short for details on that's
23. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Glad to have you. You got the Bill Michaels Show. We are live. We're at the Norwegian Hollow. Thank you. Enjoy the day down here tonight, 268 tonight. Bill Michaels will be live from the Norwegian Hollow. So come on out. We're here in Rocco, Wisconsin. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends down there at Nice Ash, theniceash.com. That's theniceash.com. And 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha. And if you're in the Waukesha, maybe do a little Christmas shopping, you want to take a load off, stop in, enjoy yourself, whether it's with a bourbon, a whiskey, something hot as well. If you're a little under the weather, as my voice is, or you just want to sit back, relax, and watch a game, whatever it happens to be, that's theniceash.com, theniceash.com, 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha, Wisconsin. So, obviously, I'm sure it's made the rounds, but coming out of New England, you've heard now that there is the mindset that Bill Belichick would most likely be gone at the end of the season. Ryan Young, who's a staff writer over at Yahoo, says that NBC's Boston's Tom Curran says that according to sources, the Patriots have already made the decision to move on from Bill Belichick. The Patriots go down to Indianapolis in Germany, going back on November 12th. That's when they came out of Germany. Conversations they had last week made it very clear the decision was already made, and they were going to play out the string and go the end of the year, and then make the move and fire Bill Belichick in the off season. The question becomes, what does he do? Do you dare to dream, as our guy Andy Herman put up? Bill Belichick going to make a hell of a defensive coordinator next year in Green Bay? Do you dare to dream that you get the defensive mastermind? I don't think it would happen, and I'll tell you why when we come back. But apparently the decision's been made to part ways with Bill Belichick in New England. Now what? Stay tuned. 1 hour down, 3 yet to go. A lot more Bill Michaels show out here in Morocco. Stick around. We'll be back right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin has its starting quarterback for 2024. That's after former Miami quarterback Tyler Van Dyke announced his commitment to the Badgers yesterday afternoon. Van Dyke started most of the last 3 seasons for the Hurricanes, for 7,478 yards, 4 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining and is expected to take part in spring practice with the Badgers. Van Dyke is the 4th transfer the Badgers have added so far, while losing 6 scholarship players to the portal. Turning to the Packers, they got back to work yesterday to start getting ready for a visit from Tampa Bay. They're having to put behind them a rough effort in a loss to the Giants on Monday night. It's 2 turnovers and many missed opportunities, but quarterback Jordan Love remains confident.
I think we got a great team. And obviously, we're a team that's been in this situation, lost some games, and been able to bounce back. So, I know we'll be able to bounce back.
Injury-wise, Coach Matt LaFleur did not have an update on wide receivers Jaden Reed or Jatavion Wicks. Reed left the game to be evaluated for a concussion. Wicks has an ankle injury, and this on top of not having Christian Watson or Luke Musgrave. Packers and Buccaneers are Sunday at noon. 2023 has been a great year for the members of LaUna, Wisconsin, their contractors, and other construction industry partners. LaUna, Wisconsin would like to wish you a safe, happy, and healthy holiday season. And it is not too early to start thinking about the new year. If you would like to learn more about a career as a member of LaUna, Wisconsin, where you will earn great union wages, health care, and a pension, please learn why you are worth so much more by visiting liunawisconsin.org. The Milwaukee Bucks currently sit 16-7 on the year. That's good for the Eastern Conference. A game and a half on the Celtics for first place. And continue on with their homestand as they welcome in the Pacers tonight as their form for a 7 o'clock tip. And finally, Wisconsin volleyball will take on Texas tomorrow in the national semifinal. The winner will get either Nebraska or Pittsburgh in the final. The Wisconsin Sports Zone Network.
Good day to everybody on the network. We are glad to have you. We are broadcasting live. We are in Morocco, Wisconsin, the Norwegian Hollow, which is where we're at. It doesn't normally open, but they'll be open later today. We got Dan and Jay tonight from 5 to 6. Some music down here. We have got the Bill Michaels Huddle tonight down here as well, and we are here now, and hopefully you're enjoying your day talking some Packers football, talking some NBA basketball after what Draymond Green did last night, and then obviously a little Brewers chatter coming up later on this afternoon. We're going to talk with our buddy Chuck Freeman from the Locked On Brewers podcast. We'll talk with him. Badgers get themselves a quarterback in the portal, which is good news. And excuse me, now the Packers back in the practice field today, a quick turnaround as they start getting ready for Tampa Bay. And I'd said that at the top of the hour that Bill Belichick's going to get fired, and I saw and by the way, for those who didn't know, and for those that are just joining us, there's a report out that going from NBC in Boston. Tom Curran is the sports guy over there, and he said that when they came out of Germany, conversations that he had that week made it very clear that the decision was made, and they were going to play out the string. And at the end of the year, there would be a parting of the ways for a variety of reasons. You don't fire Bill Belichick during the season; that's just not going to happen. And Belichick, a long time ago, solidified himself one of the best head coaches in all of football. We know that. He's chasing the record for Don Shula right now as the all-time winningest coach. But the way it is, he's at least 3 strong seasons away. And by the time he would catch that record, if indeed he does, he'd be mid-70s. And what's the relatability at that point in time to a team? Now, the question is, if they do part ways with Bill Belichick, does he want to remain as coach? And would he take a defensive coordinator position? Now, Andy Herman at the Pack Day podcast said that he's going to make a great defensive coordinator in Green Bay. And that set off a string of tweets and responses and such that I guess it's a dare to dream moment. Could you bring a guy like that, a defensive-minded guy like that in, who's been so schematically good at taking away teams' best players' best plays, to then run your defense? The mind, yes. The personality, I don't think so. And to bring in that big of a personality, that big and that overshadowing of success as a head coach. First of all, I can't imagine Bill Belichick ever really would want to be anything but a head coach. But secondly, you would have to have really big, secure cojones to bring him in and to oversee your defense and to leave all the decision making up to you. You know what I mean? So, would you like to see it happen? Absolutely. I think at that point, you could probably say that whatever your dare to dream moment is, at least then maybe through what it is, Bill Belichick defensively, schematically could bring to your team. At least then you can maybe realize what the ceiling is for your team, if there is a ceiling for your defense, where you've put so much draft capital into it. But on the other hand, there is a legit relatability factor in all of that. The personality that could or couldn't be. He would certainly come through the door and get a lot of attention right away. There's no doubt about that. But you would have to be, first of all, really, really, really established and strong as a head coach. And then secondly, the question, which is incredibly simple, is would Bill Belichick really want to go back to being a defensive coordinator after being a head coach for this long a period of time, knowing that Shula's record is within relative grasp? There's a lot of talk about him possibly going to a couple of different places, such as maybe LA with the Chargers for a team that could be almost ready-made in now, if he would change direction. So anyway, I don't think it's ever going to happen, to be perfectly honest with you. But it is kind of a dare to dream moment. The Patriots are 3-10 heading into the game against Kansas City this weekend. Currently are last again in the AFC East. They've lost several bad blowouts this season. They lost a 38-3 game against Dallas, a 34-0 game against the Saints, and they're one of 2 teams in the league already eliminated from the playoffs. The other one being the Carolina Panthers, who have one win this season. So this is embarrassingly bad and embarrassingly early for the Patriots, all ready to be looking to the next year. The bright side to the losing season is that they're currently slated to receive the number 2 pick in the draft. And if the report comes to fruition that Robert Kraft will have somebody else calling the shots in an effort to rebuild the Patriots dynasty, then most likely they're going to be probably, taking themselves a franchise quarterback who can then maybe turn that franchise around. But again, it goes back to a dare to dream moment. If you are indeed, thought that, that Bill Belichick would ever kind of humble himself and take a DC job. I don't think it's ever going to happen, to be honest with you. If you think that he's, first of all, going to take a defensive coordinator job, I think that's crazy. And then the other crazy part of it is, do you think that Matt LaFleur is out to him? and says, "Hey, you'd be crazy not to if you were to let go of Joe Barry," which you would assume is going to happen at the end of the season. But I can't imagine that. So anyway, but it is a dare to dream moment. You can close your eyes and it's kind of like when you walk in and you buy a lottery ticket and you pretty much know you're not going to win, but you're buying your lottery ticket anyway, and you're daring to dream. You got a better, shot of landing Bill Belichick than you do winning the lottery. So at least you can dream in a little more of a reality fashion than say winning $500 Powerball. You know, um, we got a lot of stuff that's happening over in the live stream. I wanted to get into this for a minute. And this is from Pete, who said, I believe strongly from Matt's comments that continually, addressed to the media about the defense, that he actually is not the boss as far as who the defensive coordinator is. If he truly is in charge of that, change it. If the guy doesn't do it, then you fire him. He doesn't have the power solely. I truly don't believe he hired him. Um, he hired. That's one thing that I'll say because the way the discussions went this year, the way the discussion went this year has been um, the I don't believe that I heard Brian Gutekunst one time use the name of Joe Barry in the offseason. I don't think I did. He just kept talking about Matt. We trust in Matt. We trust in Matt. We trust in Matt. And basically didn't really get into Joe Barry in the defense. He talked about pressure. He talked about talent. He talked about a lot of different things. But he did not talk about Joe Barry specifically. I don't think he wanted to retain Joe Barry. I think what the question became towards the end of the season was that, is Joe Barry coming back? And he said, well, we believe in Matt. Matt's in charge of the coaching staff. We believe in Matt. He never really addressed Joe Barry specifically. So, no, Pete, I do not believe by any stretch of the imagination that this was anybody's hire of Matt LaFleur. 100%. 100%. So, I would assume at the end of the season, there is going to be a replacement at the defensive side. And as much as the defense has been near the top 10 when it comes to scoring defenses, you can't ignore the fact that they give up a massive amount of yards, specifically on the ground. They have given up 4 games of 200+ yards on the ground. 4 games. 4 games of 200+ yards on the ground. When you look at the second half leads that they've had against Atlanta, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Steelers, the Giants, they lost all of those games, all of those 5 games having a lead. And it's easy to complain about the offensive struggles that the team has had. But even with so much investment, draft capital, and money, the defense just it can't take games over. I've talked about this time and again. And excuse me, when you look at the game specifically against the Giants and how the defensive pressure just falls off, it's mind-boggling how bad they can be at times. Matt LaFleur said, quote, we obviously gave him too many chunk plays. We lost our leverage twice. You cannot do that in critical situations. We were off, way off. And then he stopped. Remember. He stopped talking. And he said one of those throws that they can get an easy hitch like that, gain 10 yards, it was just a bad ball. Now, what he's saying is we can't play off the ball like that. We can't play off the receivers like that. More concerning is that the approach, the mindset of the defense, Joe Barry said the most important stat is the scoreboard, which is true, which, it's a little bit of coach speak, so to speak. But, the offense didn't do their part for a while. I understand that. But you can't look at your defense and say, go ahead and give up that kind of chunk yardage, specifically in crucial situations. And against the Giants, it was evident that they were going to try to run the ball. They were going to run the ball. They were going to go with a quick passing game to avoid or at least limit the offensive line struggles that they've had, that New York has had. But the Packers, for the most part, they played the defense the way they've always played it. deep safety, soft zone, defense line, prioritizing penetration over, say, gap integrity. You know, it was a solid plan when you want to beat the Chiefs, you want to go up against the Lions, but when you got a team like the New York Giants who give up sacks almost like giving up air, it's like, what are you doing? You know, a lot of mentions of the offensive struggle and how the defense is able to put them in position to win games, but the offense is 10th in a lot of metrics and not bad. Now they haven't scored a lot, but the offense is supposed to get better. The defense should get better along, and they're not. And that was not complimentary football the other day. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. Thomas says just basically it comes down to the final drive, and the final drive was infuriating. Will says, funny how the last coach won a Super Bowl and was willing to change things up. They ran him out of town with philosophy, yet the knucklehead, he continued to do the same thing, and then he goes on to say, Will, as Will does, he blames it on LaFleur. LaFleur is a joke, and Green Bay screwed up on McCarthy. Now, the whole McCarthy thing, no, I don't think so. I just think it was time. It was time for Mike McCarthy to go. That's all. I don't think anything else beyond that. Let's do this. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. And when we do, I want to flip over to some basketball. I want to talk to Jim Ozarski, the Journal Sentinel. He makes his weekly visit with us. Obviously, we'll talk some Bucks basketball. But we got to talk some NBA, too, because of what happened last night with Draymond Green and the wild flailing elbow that was. And you would assume the suspension is about to come down hard and heavy. So I want to and then we'll get back into talking some football as well. We got a lot going on today. So stay tuned. We are broadcasting live. We're out here at the Norwegian Hollow. We're in Oroco, Wisconsin. Great to be here again. Great to see so many faces last night, today as well. Always a great time to hang out and just enjoy ourselves out here. Don't forget this neck of the woods, as a matter of fact. Our friend Craig Every and the gang from Every Plumbing and Heating, serving with Cross and Trempealeau, Monroe, Vernon counties, Jackson County, all over the place. They were originally founded by the Korean War veteran Clayton Every years and years ago. They're third generation. But in addition to that, they can do not just plumbing and heating, but they can put in a water heater. They can do your water softening system. They can put in, floor heat. They can put a garage heater in. Plus, do all the maintenance and check and such on your heaters, your furnace, your boilers, all that stuff. And this is the time of the year that you don't want to have a breakdown. I'll tell you that right now. Even though we're going to be warmer this weekend, we know the cold weather's coming. So get a hold of our great friends over there at Every Plumbing and Heating. Call them today, 608-783-2803. 608-783-2803. Out here in La Crosse, that La Crosse area, Monroe, Vernon, Jackson County area, all over. Every Plumbing and Heating, 608-783-2803.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go?
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it later.
More jingle seats in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Let's make a New Year's resolution today.
That's the spirit, Santa.
No, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 18 months. You have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Restrictions apply. Sure.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 weeks. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
It is that time of year. If you're thinking about getting the ring, or an engagement ring, anniversary ring, wedding ring, ear ring, doesn't matter. Check out our friends at Kane and Kane Jewelers. Kane and Kane Jewelers, they want to rock your world. They are in West Bend, Wisconsin. It is worth the drive to West Bend, Wisconsin. And Andy and his staff, they're great people out there. They really, truly are. Go to Kane, K-O-E-H-N, KaneJewelry.com. That is KaneJewelry.com. Again, KaneJewelry.com. And they're just really good people out there. They'd be glad to help you out. Again, Kane and Kane Jewelers in West Bend, especially this time of year. 877-867-1670. If you want to give us a shout, give us a call. You can. Jim Ozarski of the Journal Sentinel, got to touch base with him. And anyway, long story short, you've got big news regarding the NBA, and that is our friends over there at when it comes to the Draymond Green incident, and then obviously you've got the Milwaukee Bucks and the loss. We have not talked to Jim since they lost out in Vegas, and so we're waiting on Jim to join us because Jim is got shoot around right now for the Milwaukee Bucks who play today. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's waiting on Jim still, Grant?
Yeah, Jim has shoot around. It got pushed back a little bit, so I told him, after Mark Schofield in the 12 o'clock hour, so later in the show, we'll get him on.
Okay, just making sure. But we do want to get to that because obviously the big news of the day. If you're watching last night via the NBA, the last night Draymond Green, he's just kind of sitting around waiting to see what's going to happen to him, as he was ejected from last night's game against the Phoenix Suns and Yusuf Nurkic. Yusuf
Nurkic, yes, Nurkic.
Yeah,
hard.
Yeah, and he ended up. It was a flagrant too, but it's like, first of all, it's his third ejection of the season. And it was an elbow that he just flung towards Nurkic's head and took him to the ground. I don't. Did he hit him square in the nose? Did he have a nosebleed? Because he didn't look all that bruised or beat up during the post-game press conference. But he hit him in the nose, right? Hit him right square in the face.
I think he got fist to cheekbone, and then probably on the follow-through got some of the nose. Just clocked him right in the side of the face.
It just, man. And him and Nurkic, they were going at it pretty much all game. Not physical like that, but he hit him in the head with his hand fist, elbow, and they took a look at it, video review, and they said flagrant 2. He tried to he being Draymond Green tried to apologize. He said, "I do apologize to you, Steph, because I didn't intend to hit him. I sell calls with my arms. So I was selling the call and I swung, and unfortunately, nobody in their right mind believes that because Draymond Green has a trigger. It just goes off, and it goes off unexpectedly, and it goes off without care or concern. And again, his third ejection tied for the most in a season. And you got to assume that there's going to be a factor in this because, yeah, if you hit a guy or slap a guy or elbow a guy in the face, there can be a suspension. But there has to be a Draymond Green multiplier here. And Steve Kerr, their coach, on one hand, you get it because he said, we need him. We need Draymond. And I understand that. I mean, look, they got a losing record without him. He's an incredible player. But he's also a complete liability. He's a nut job because suspensions are coming. He's going to fly off the handle. You don't know when. Whether it's doing it in the NBA Finals, which he's done, and he's hurt his team, or now, or in practice when he went after Jordan Poole and punched him in the face. Like Steve Kerr said, well, we've talked to him. He's got to find a way to keep his poise and be out there for his teammates, yada, yada, yada. You know what it's got to take? It's got to take his teammates stepping up and going, we're done. We're done. You can't do this anymore. You can't do this to us. The next time you do this, because Draymond had said, I got to be me. In other words, I got to be allowed to play the way I want to play and do what I want to do, and I shouldn't have repercussions for an organization. But, you're going to lose with him as easy or without him as easy as you do with him. Now if he takes the suspension, sticks around, he finds his P's and Q's and helps them climb back into this thing and possibly win a championship in their last run, that's one thing. Otherwise, all he's doing is sabotaging their season. But for what he did last night, then you go back to the Rudy Gobert choke, there's no way he should be on a court for at least 17 games. 20.
Well,
really.
the NBA has showed us, Bill, in multiple instances the last few years, they take prior behavior into account. So if you are someone that's thrown a lot of punches and done a lot of these things before, they will make your punishment harsher, right? Like you clock someone across the face.
Right.
It happens every once in a while. But if Draymond does it, the NBA will make the punishment longer because it's Draymond. They've set that precedent.
Right. No, I completely agree. And they should. They really should. So we'll talk with Jim Lazarski coming up here in a little bit as, in the next hour as Jim had to wait to shoot around. So I want to get into it. I promise you I do. But we're gonna talk to Jim about this as well. In the meantime, we were talking about Joe Barry. And there's ESPN, they were doing, I think it was NFL Live, and I talked about Dan Orlovsky and what he had to say. And Mina Kimes, she then is one of their, NFL reporters, talked about Joe Barry, the Packers defense, what they didn't do in the game on Monday night. It's not just becoming obvious to those who witnessed it time and again, as a Green Bay Packer fan. It is becoming obvious to those now around football, that cover football, that watch the Green Bay Packers, even casually. It's now becoming evident that there is a concept here that simply is not working and people do not understand. This is Mina Kimes and Dominic Foxworth both talking about this Packers defense and what they saw on Monday night. Take a listen.
I am so sick of watching this Packers defense do the same. It's been years. I don't, and it's not just Joe Barry. It's Joe Barry, but oh my God, Joe Barry. Like the two things. I mean, I can single out a number of things that drive me crazy watching this defense that have been driving me crazy forever. I understand being taken back a little bit by the first time Tommy DeVito runs zone read. How are you still being fooled by that or not accounting for it deep into the football game? It was like when teams used to play Daniel Jones, same quarterback. Like, what are you doing? You know he's going to keep it on some of these. It was mind blowing. And then that final drive, knowing like just the situational football. You know that all they have to do is get into field goal territory, still giving them these cushions. It's Tommy DeVito. What are you doing? And like the Robinson throw was a good throw, and like that's why you made him beat you. They can beat you, but like, oh my God, leading up to that, Dominique, like I don't understand why the Packers like this is their identity, which is crazy.
I almost feel silly talking about this game in isolation because this is them every year for the past 5 years. I look at their roster, I'm like, ooh, woo. And then I go and look at how they perform, and I'm like, And it's like this was week to week. The last few weeks, they've been getting pressure, and it's been making the whole defense look better. They haven't had like, Alexander out there, which hurts them, but also like the defense has been good. And they weren't terrible in this game, but I guess they were pretty bad considering the opponents. When you are getting ready for this game, who are you supposed to be concerned about? Like, it's not like they have a dominant O-line. I
was gonna say you should be sacking Tommy DeVito. I think his numbers when he had like over 2.5 seconds were extremely good. Yes, I mean, it's just
I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. They're not a team that is good enough to be having letdown games. I just don't know. I can't explain it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. It's just something that happens with this team all of the time.
There you go. That is a discussion that they are obviously seeing the same thing that we have seen regarding Barry for a while now. So it's it's not getting any better, and I would assume at the end of the season, because there is no contract. There was the other question. I don't think Joe Barry has a contract at the end of the season. You got to assume they're going to make a change, but frustration's starting to boil over not only locally but now nationally. Stick around. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
In the heart of downtown Milwaukee, there's an all-new Potawatomi Casino Hotel, where there's a table waiting for you at 12 bars and restaurants, a winning seat at 40 table games or 3,000 slot machines, plus the thrill of bingo, full-service sports betting, and more. Are you ready to spark something new? Light up your senses at Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Explore more at paysbig.com.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes.